When you're talking about high-stakes engineering, where just one single failure can have absolutely monumental consequences, how do you guarantee integrity? Well, it all comes down to something called engineering authority, that verifiable, code-compliant proof that every single component meets the most exacting standards. Today, we're going to dive into one of the most critical areas where this authority is completely non-negotiable: pipeline welding inspection.
And to really get a handle on this, let's zoom in on a specific and frankly incredibly challenging environment: the Kenai Peninsula in Alaska. Now, this isn't just any old spot on a map. It's a critical nerve center for oil and gas. It's a place where the margin for error is basically zero, and just one mistake could have devastating environmental and economic impact.
And the sheer scale of what we're talking about here, it's just staggering. You've got these vast cook inlet gathering systems, huge transmission pipelines, and incredibly complex piping at all the facilities. And on top of all that, it's the future home of the proposed $44 billion Alaska LNG project. The amount of energy and pure value flowing through these pipes is just immense.
Okay, so you can't just go out and build or maintain infrastructure on this scale without a ridiculously rigorous regulatory framework. This is what builds the entire foundation for safety and compliance, so let's break down what that actually looks like.
This right here is the central question for every single engineer, project manager, and operator in the region. What does it really take to make sure every weld, every connection is safe, compliant, and ready for service in such a demanding place?
The answer really starts here, with a clear division of who's watching what. At the federal level, you've got PHMSA, that's the Pipeline and Hazardous Materials Safety Administration, and they govern the gas and liquid pipelines under 49 CFR. Then, at the state level, the Alaska Oil and Gas Conservation Commission, or AOGCC, they oversee everything from the wellhead right on through to the processing facilities. And if you're an inspector, you have to be fluent in both.
And you know, all of that complexity really boils down to one single indispensable standard: API 1104. This is the welding code. It's the Bible. It sets the rules for absolutely everything: how welding procedures get qualified, how welders get qualified, and most critically, the exact criteria for inspecting and accepting every single weld.
So, we have the regulations and we've got the core standard, but how does that actually translate into action out in the field? This next section breaks down the practical, step-by-step process of what code-compliant verification really looks like.
It's a very structured life cycle, for sure. First, you're starting with the paperwork, reviewing all the welding procedure specifications. Then comes the hands-on visual exam, which is followed by advanced, non-destructive examination. And it all wraps up in the final, comprehensive documentation that proves the work was done right, from start to finish.
So the first hands-on action out in the field is an absolute baseline: a 100% visual inspection of every single weld, no exceptions. An expert inspector examines the surface, looking for any visible issues before any other testing even happens. Think of it as the first critical line of defense for quality.
But what you can see on the surface is only part of the story, right? To really be sure about the internal integrity of the weld, inspectors coordinate what's called non-destructive examination, or NDE. These are really advanced methods used to evaluate the weld without having to cut up or damage the pipe itself.
And the toolkit for this is pretty impressive. We're talking about techniques like radiographic testing, which is basically an X-ray for the weld. Then there's ultrasonic testing, which uses sound waves to find any internal flaws, and even magnetic particle testing to find tiny cracks on the surface. This is all highly specialized, technical work that requires certified technicians.
And finally, we get to what might actually be the most important phase for long-term integrity and compliance. All of this verification, every single review, every visual check, every NDE result, it all gets compiled into a comprehensive documentation package.
And here's the crucial point: this package becomes the permanent record. It has everything: detailed daily reports and weld logs tracking every single weld, the official NDE reports, records proving that each welder was qualified for the job, and the as-built documents that map the pipeline precisely. This is the tangible, verifiable proof of compliance.
Now, these principles aren't just for building brand new pipelines from scratch. They apply across the entire life cycle of the asset. So let's take a look at a few key applications. First up, you've got the gathering systems. These are basically the pipelines that connect individual wells back to the main processing facilities. Inspection here supports all the new construction and, critically, the tie-ins that bring new production online.
Then you have the major arteries,
the big, high-pressure transmission pipelines. These are the lines that move all those refined products to the market. Here, the stakes are even higher, so the welding inspection during construction has to be exceptionally rigorous.
So what about pipelines that are already active, already carrying product? This is where in-service repairs come in, and let me tell you, it's a highly specialized field that demands expert inspection to maintain the integrity of a live operating system.
This kind of work can involve anything from installing a reinforcing sleeve over a weak spot to completely cutting out and replacing a section of pipe. It can even mean welding a new connection onto a pressurized line, a really tricky procedure known as a hot tap. Each one of these requires even more enhanced documentation for integrity management.
So you can see how this all brings us right back to our central theme. Why go through this whole meticulous process? It's all about establishing authority and verification. It's the non-negotiable value that underpins the safety and reliability of our entire energy infrastructure.
And this quote really sums it all up perfectly. The ultimate deliverable isn't just an inspected pipeline, it's code-compliant verification and comprehensive documentation. That is the tangible product of true engineering authority.
So I'll leave you with this final, crucial question to think about for any major engineering work. It's not just about whether the job gets done. It's about whether its integrity is built on a foundation of truly verifiable authority.